I don't know about you, but I'm bothered by the simple monster. The simple monster lives in the C-suite in most organizations. And for some reason, the people in the C-suite, especially the CEO, acknowledges that everything in the world, marketing, sales, manufacturing, R&D, legal, is very complex, but people management is simple. Apparently, they're taught this in MBA school, is to keep everything simple. And what they endorse is you can do anything you want in talent management, but you're limited to 5 to 7 characteristics or KSAs to run our assessment and development program in talent management. It does a lot of damage to the field. Now, nothing else actually runs against 5 to 7 known definable characteristics. Think of the urgent care that you go to. Physicians are taught about 1,800 diseases, and they use differential diagnosis to whittle down and figure out whether you have cancer or a cold. What if the CEO of the hospital in your region told the physicians that they could only use 5 to 7 diseases? So you either have flu, cancer, a heart attack, a cold, or one other diseases. Obviously, that wouldn't work because medicine is more complex than that. What if the R&D department, the chemistry department said, we need to keep things simple to be more effective, so you can only use 5 to 7 chemicals from the periodic table of the elements, of which, as you know, there are 111. Well, that wouldn't work because it doesn't contain the information I need to make brass versus bronze versus stainless steel. So the world is complex, and for most of us, we had a struggle going through and passing calculus. So everything's complex. Data analytics is complex. Marketing is a complex set of conditions. Strategy is complex. Planning is complex. Logistics is complex. Everything but how to describe and manage people, that apparently can be simple. Well, it can't. And it causes trouble. Now, what we know from the periodic table of talent management is that for the 3 levels of any organization, be it individual contributors, managers, or leaders, there's about 30 elements. You can call them competencies or KSAs or skills or practices. There's about 30 that account for the majority of success and effectiveness at those 3 levels. We also know that being a good individual contributor can be done in several ways. That is, there is no individual contributor that needs or has all 30 elements. There's no supervisor or manager that needs or has 30 elements of managerial skills. There's no leader that needs 30. So what we've learned over time is that people can be successful differentially. They need a subset of the periodic table or a subset of the library. But you cannot hire successful people using 5 to 7 characteristics. You cannot deploy people properly using 5 to 7 characteristics. You cannot run succession planning on 5 to 7 characteristics. For some reason, senior management, especially CEOs, love the 5-pointed star. So many of these corporate models of leadership are the 5 points of a star, And then thematically, they want to say, in order to be a star in our company, these are the 5 things you want. There's an interesting principle having to do with the sizing of a characteristic. That is, how big could a competency be? In the 5 to 7 characteristic systems, one of them is almost always communication skills. Is that a good thing to have? Well, of course. Is it needed at all 3 levels? Of course. But if I told you you're not going to get promoted because you're not good at communication skills, the technical question in competency engineering is, do you now know what to fix? From a sizing standpoint, communication skills could be presentation skills, could be listening skills, could be information management, could be articulatedness, could be writing skills, could be remote management skills over Zoom. So in order to be useful in talent management from a practice engineering standpoint, the size has to be the size that when I get critical, constructive, corrective feedback, I know what to do. The problem is, if you look at the 5-point star or the 7-point star models, the simple models, all of them are too big for me as a talent management professional to help that target person understand what they need to work on to be successful. Those who talk about the simple models say that it has to be sticky and it has to be memorable. That is, anybody in the company should be able to profess at any time, sort of like at training at West Point, tell me the 5 principles of leadership in this organization, and they should be able to tell you the 5. I say, well, that's a false requirement. If you give me the fact that there are actually, from a scientific basis, 30 component parts to success at the 3 levels of organizations, all I really need to know are the 5 to 7 that apply to me, apply to the job I am doing today, and the most likely job that I'm going to do next. How can I get started on my development going forward? So the stickiness argument doesn't make sense. The memorable argument doesn't make sense, because we know that all leaders lead in different ways and can be equally successful. The same is true for supervisors and managers. While I appreciate the CEO following the MBA course on keeping things stupid and simple, the fact that everybody in the company can name 5 leadership characteristics that have no meaning, cannot be managed, cannot be used for development, and cannot be used for succession planning is not impressive. So the simple monster has followed me for all 50 years of my career in almost every client I've worked with. Senior officers have the simple monster in their genetics. As talent management professionals, we have to fight against that. We have to point out that there are 30 diseases. The physicians need to know all 30 diseases, although 5 of them are the primary diseases. Once in a while, somebody's going to come in with a rare disease that the physician needs to be able to deal with. The same is true of a talent management professional. I had an executive in coaching that had a communication skills problem, and what we found out it was is in the new digital era of emails, he was incapable of writing a succinct email. There was nothing wrong with his presentation skills, nothing wrong with his listening skills. And of the 1,000 executives that I've coached in my career, that has happened only one time, that an executive needed help on email. Well, that's not covered when you tell me one of the 7 star characteristics in the company is communication skills. That carries no information of any kind. So I would like all of you fellow talent management professionals to help me find and destroy the simple monster.